everybody, TacticAngel here, back on the PlayStation 4, talking about some World Warships Legends, and today I want to talk about the hunt for the Tirpitz missions, and I do want to use this as a special reminder that you don't have to buy Admiralty backing until you have a good idea whether or not you can complete the campaign, or at least how close you'll get to the end of the campaign about whether or not you want to throw a lot of money at this Tirpitz. To set some groundwork, I'm not trying to brag when I say this, but I am an above average player. Right now I'm sitting at a win rate right around 63%, and I average about 50,000 damage per game. I'm just putting that out there so that we can use that as a gauge to kind of figure out how hard this is going to be for you to complete these missions. So I'll put the TLDW in front and say I average about 120 battles per week. I have most of the ships in the game, and I find the prospect of trying to get through these weekly missions pretty daunting. I think I'll be able to finish the Ensign, Captain, and Admiral trials, but the weekly missions for the Tirpitz campaign, at least for week 1, are really grindy. I know I'm not the only person to mention this, so hopefully by the time you're watching this video, like maybe tomorrow or the next day or something, maybe you live in a brighter, more hopeful future, so here's the hope. In any case, I'm going to talk over this game in the background and go through the weekly missions that we've seen so far, why I do or don't like them, and then talk about the Battle Triumph missions and which boats I think are going to be the most advantageous to finishing them. So unlike the previous campaigns where you had 2 missions that you could work on side by side, it looks like the Tirpitz missions are going to be a glorified single file line, because you can't start any of the shakedown trials until you finish the endurance trials. Really, this whole thing is kind of an endurance trial, though, if you think about it. So the first one is win 3 games. This isn't too terrible, actually, and really you should probably use any ship that you're good at. Next, we're going to move on to earn 1,750,000 credits. These appear to be modified credits, so if you want to get through these as quickly as possible, and if you have a tier 5 or 6 premium ship, I would use that. I'd throw on a credit booster if you have any. If you don't, a normal tier 5 or 6 ship will also have the highest earning potential generally, and tier 5 being a little bit more affordable to run if you have a few bad games in there. The service cost on tier 6 starts to escalate pretty badly, and tier 7 is pretty expensive to run if you're trying to make money. Even on a tech tree ship, though, a credit booster flag is a good thing to equip if you want to get through this quickly. The third endurance trial is earn 12,500 experience before bonuses. This actually isn't too terrible, and having premium or booster flags on your ship isn't going to help you at all get through this. This isn't too bad, really, because you can run any ship that you want rather than having to play the system, which is going to come up in a few seconds. Next, we come to earn 2,000 global experience. This probably is a little deceptive because this seems to be a smaller goal, but you only make 5% of your match XP in global XP, so really this is more like earn 40,000 experience. But on the bright side, it looks like you can use both XP boosters and global XP boosters to help you here, because the general XP booster will increase the amount of XP that you get, so the 5% will be a little bit more, and then the global XP booster will obviously increase the amount of that global XP, so increasing whatever that 5% is even higher. And this kind of brings up a general rule, because if you think about how to use those booster flags, if you're anything like me, you kind of hoard them away for a rainy day. Well, friends, it looks like this is a rainy day, and these are the kind of missions where you want to break those out if you like to hold on to them. Endurance trial number 5 is actually a little bit easier than the last one. Basically, continue to play the game and you'll eventually unlock this. Now that we have that out of the way, we can look on to the shakedown trials. The first one isn't too bad as long as you have some German ships. Once again, win 3 battles. After that, I hope you're not a DD player, because you'll be asked to do 600,000 damage in BBs. This actually is a little less restrictive than playing German ships, because around a third of the boats in the game are battleships. but it's sort of annoying when the game is forcing you to play a certain type of ship. That said, it gets worse from there, because the next one asks you to capture 8 bases in Royal Navy destroyers. That's actually what I'm doing in this particular video, and I was thoroughly annoyed by this, because recently I've been getting mostly capture the base games rather than domination, which is the game mode I prefer to play. Most capture the base games end in one team's death or another. Domination, at least you usually have a chance to capture 1 or 2 bases if you're in a DD. Another problem I have is, on top of them making you play a particular type of ship, like I said, Royal Navy destroyers is a fairly limited number of ships in the game. You're also more or less playing a type of ship that you're required to use camo on, and since we have to buy camo every game, then this kind of seems like a way to get more money out of people, and that's really annoying to me, even though obviously you guys can see I've spent some money. But anyway, best of luck here, because it seems to me that we're getting a lot more capture the base than in domination games like we used to. The next one I didn't think was actually that bad. It deals 70,000 fire damage to enemies in cruisers. Obviously, if you have an Atlanta, your eyes just light up at this possibility, but if you don't, the Omaha is a great choice. Any of the higher tier Japanese cruisers from the Aoba on up have a very good fire percentage chance and very accurate guns, and pretty much any of the German cruisers, though they have bad HE damage, are decent at starting fires. So this one shouldn't be as bad as long as you enjoy playing cruisers of some sort. After that, sink 8 ships in Japanese boats. Pick your poison here. I hope you like at least one of the Japanese lines. The 6th mission asks you to place in the top half of your team in at least 3 battles in destroyers. I have no particular recommendation here, except that if you are going to play on a domination match, remember that you get a lot of XP for playing the objectives, for capturing those bases, and for shooting ships that are trying to capture your base, so keep that in mind. Then finally get 400 main battery hits with American ships. Actually, I got this in 2 games in the Atlanta. You can probably get it done in 4 or 5 in the Omaha or Marblehead. After that, I'd say pick any American destroyer, actually. So yeah, this information probably won't be useful in a day or 2, but I'm really not pleased with how many games this took me to get. It took me probably about 100 games, so I hate to think what somebody who has like a 40% win ratio and loves the game is going to have to suffer through. So basically, I hope Wargaming will look at this and at least make like future iterations of this so that it's not 12 missions in a single file row sort of thing, so that you actually can maybe work on 2 at the same time, or at least lower the amount of grind that's required here, because 100 games is a lot, and not everybody has that kind of time, and obviously not everybody's going to even be able to do it in 100 games. But anyway, we come to the Battle Triumphs. This is going to be more useful because they run through the end of the campaign. There are 15 of them, again in a row, but they're basically the same 5 ideas, just that they get harder and harder. The first mission in each of these sections is to be the top person in terms of XP on your team. There's no real trick to this except playing the objectives in domination games, and strangely, this works even if you lose. Sometimes it's a strange blessing to be on a team full of potatoes with this kind of mission, because, I mean, you were the least terrible. Congratulations. After that, it's hit a ship 5, 6, or 7 times with torpedoes in one battle. There are plenty of ways to go about this. Obviously, you probably want to play in a destroyer, so in an American DD, the easiest way to do this is stalk islands and ambush a battleship or 2. If you're going to do that, the most protected part of the ship is actually usually the big fat middle of it, so if you try to get all of your torpedoes into the dead center of the ship, it'll actually survive longer for you to hit it with more torpedoes. That said, this isn't usually the best strategy for your long-term survival. If you're playing a Japanese ship, spamming torpedoes at 8K is going to work eventually. But strangely, the best ship in this is probably the Kamikaze. For me, I actually enjoyed playing the V170 and the G101 for this, so those are pretty good choices if you have them. After that, you'll need to Citadel a ship 5, 6, or 7 times in one match. I find that cruisers are generally the best choice for this. Absolutely the best choice if you have it is probably the Indianapolis, because it is both very punchy and very accurate. The Omaha, Baltimore, and Königsberg are probably the most capable ships of scoring a lot of citadels without doing tier 7 battleship damage. That said, I have had good luck with mid-tier American and Japanese battleships like the Arizona and Congo. Next is kill 3, 4, or 5 ships in one game. This is going to really be on you to know what ship you do really well in, but please just don't be a total jerk to your team and sit around waiting to kill steal everyone, because you'll probably lose the game. And then the top mission for each of these trials is do 100,000, 125,000, or 150,000 damage in one game. This is literally everyone's favorite mission. I find that higher tier battleships are the way to go for this. The Iowa is particularly capable of putting up high scoring games. All you need to do is keep the bow pointed towards your enemy and rely on those front 2 turrets. I will give an honorable mention to the King George V using only HE shells. The high chance of fire means that you're going to be able to set a lot of fires, and of course, fire damage is also healable, so in a strange sort of way, you are sometimes allowing there to be more damage to farm by using those shells against other battleships. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of examples that I can think of where you can break 150,000 damage consistently in a lower tier ship. I think you can probably get 100 or 125,000 in a good game, particularly in ships like the Arkansas, the Congo, or some of the lower tier destroyers. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the campaign at this point. I apparently chose a video that was not appropriately lengthed to the amount of commentary that I had, but you know, it's kind of hard to do that. So we're going to finish out just talking a little bit about what's going on in this particular game. I actually kind of like this game because I got to show off actually sinking a Tirpitz in a peculiar and very brave sort of way. Obviously, the Tirpitz players out there are probably going to turn in towards you just like they were playing a Scharnhorst, and they're going to try to get real close so their German accuracy doesn't hurt too bad, and they're also going to get real close because they want to torpedo you. In this case, I am playing in a Lightning. I have gone for the Hunter camo because it both looks good and because I don't want to waste all my tier 4 camo on just stuff I don't want to do at all. So, you know, Hunter camo is essentially type 3 camo. It's good enough for the government work here, and what I'm doing here is just trying to control the bases. Unfortunately, the rest of my team has died, and I am kind of left to my own devices over here. So I'm putting shells into that Vanguard in hopes that I can finish him off just like that. And we still have 2 bases. The enemy has 1. You're about to see one of those brave moments where TacticAngel runs away. Obviously, if you're sitting on 4 kills, you're thinking, what if, right? So, unlike my last video, also in a destroyer, we're going to try not to do the selfish thing here. We're going to try not to be spotted. We're going to maybe chance hitting that Amagi with some torpedoes, but we're going to turn away and get some extra distance between us before he can see us. Now, I know a lot of people have been mentioning I don't play a lot of games in cruisers on my channel. Obviously, with the Dragrasa coming out next week, you can expect a review of that ship on this channel. And obviously, it's a cruiser, a little light cruiser. So hopefully this won't be just all destroyers all the time. But as you can see, I missed the Amagi. There's only 10 seconds left in the game. Obviously, I am not about to challenge that Amagi head-to-head, and we'll just go ahead and take what we can get here. We're going to end up winning the Cowards Award at the end, the Solo Warrior. Solo Warrior usually not won by actually defeating ships, but by running away. So we go ahead and win that game. A pretty good amount of money for a tier 7 ship, 108,000 damage. There we are on the top of the list. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope to see you again on the next one.